Your Creative Force by Avianne is currently available on Global Voice Radio.
Talent is a flame. Genius is a fire. Broadcasting from the San Francisco Bay Area, the all-new all-hit show on creativity. Hosted by international award-winning artist and entrepreneur, Avianne. You're listening to Your Creative Force. And now here's your host, Avianne.
Hi, this is Avianne coming to you from San Francisco in California, the USA. And today we are looking at our theme, Embracing Uncertainty, episode 23 of Your Creative Force. Today's theme really strikes a chord within me because I think it is something everyone who cares about what they're doing actually battles with. And that is the thing of uncertainty. I have never met an entrepreneur or a business owner who doesn't at some point battle this notion of uncertainty. Should I take that risk? Should I not? Is it wise for me to quit my job and fully pursue this thing that I feel so uncertain about, right? There's so many questions sometimes swirling through our minds and so many realities that we have to face that we often get bogged down by uncertainty. So today's show is about actually embracing uncertainty. And something that all people with an exciting dream, from potential business owners to successful entrepreneurs, struggle with at times in their entrepreneurial pursuit is uncertainty and the fear thereof, okay? We're not going to delve super deep into the fears today, but we are going to touch on some of the fears that we face when we face uncertainty, okay? It is not something we can escape if we wish to fully pursue our potential. That is just a given that you have to accept right off the bat. So before I even go on and before you even listen to the rest of the show today, I want you to know something. You cannot escape uncertainty. And that certainty is basically the only certainty you're going to have in life, is that uncertainty is a given. If you're living on this planet as a human being, you will face uncertainty. It is just how the cookie crumbles. So right there, you can take the pressure off yourself because guess what? You cannot control it at all, right? So there will always be many aspects of our entrepreneurial journey that we cannot foresee and cannot control. If we allow that uncertainty to do so, it can really grip our hearts and minds with fear and destroy our potential for achieving our goals really fast. But uncertainty doesn't need to be a dream killer or a constant wolf lurking at the door, putting us in a flat spin of anxiety, right? We can learn to lean into it and embrace it as a tool to fuel our journey, to propel us towards success instead of hinder us. And the reason for that being mainly that uncertainty, when you grapple with it, when you push through it, it actually builds within you fortitude and it builds within you character and it builds within you the strength, therefore, to withstand difficulties that you will certainly face on your entrepreneurial journey, okay? If you can just know exactly what the future holds and nothing is ever uncertain, you're kind of going to be very weak-minded, right, about stuff because you're not going to really have to fight or struggle for anything. So uncertainty really overall can work in your favor if you allow it to, right? You can allow it to overcome you and really grip you with fear and really become a huge stumbling block or even a dream killer to you, right? Or you can embrace it, lean into it, and learn to work through it and learn to roll with the punches, so to speak, and you can become a far better strategist, a far better analyst of what you're doing, and you can really be more successful because you face your fears, you face your uncertainties, right? So in today's episode of Creative Force, I really want to take a hard and helpful look at how uncertainty can be embraced as a positive aspect of our journey as entrepreneurs and business owners. We will also take a look at at some articles by experts like Sandeep Kashyap and others on the topic, right? I've done some research, I've done some reading up on this because I want to bring you guys actual, really thought through and really well studied examples of what we are talking about, right? So that's what we're looking at today. So in part one, diving straight into the topic, we are going to look at types of uncertainty and why they are common to the entrepreneurial journey. We need to take a critical look at this phenomenon of uncertainty and entrepreneurship because I think we can lay many of our fears to rest if we deconstruct this topic. Most of what people think of as being so overtly uncertain in an entrepreneurial journey are actually just illusions. Let me explain to you how this works, okay? I truly think that uncertainty is the number one reason why most people shy away from pursuing anything entrepreneurial to begin with, or why they get scared and abandon their entrepreneurial journey at some point. But if you think about it, the fear of uncertainty is actually a giant lie, right? It's an illusion. And this is why. It is because when you truly think about it rationally, right? Just try and put those fears aside a little bit and just try and logically think about this. Everything in life is uncertain to some degree, right? We don't even have a guarantee about waking up the next day or living a long, healthy life. We have no real guarantees in life at all if you really start thinking about it, right? So the only guarantee we really have is that we will be alive for an unknown period of time and then we will die. Now, this thought sometimes seems depressing to me, but in another way, it is also freeing, right? I think to myself, well, I will die anyway. There is nothing at all I can do about it. So I better use my relatively short human lifespan to achieve my dreams as much as I can, right? One thing I always say to myself is I never want to become an old person sitting on the porch regretting my life, right? I actually want to feel like I tried my best. I try to make something more of myself. I did my best to live my full potential, right? I don't want to sit there and just think to myself, well, I kind of just went along with the flow and I kind of didn't really amount to much and I kind of didn't really try too hard and my life was kind of safe, but my life was also kind of boring. That's not the kind of thing I want to be pondering when I am older. So to me, it is really that I have this limited life, right? I am a mortal person, and in my mortal state, there are limits to what I can achieve, so I better make it count. That's kind of how this makes me think, right? When I face uncertainty, it's like, you know what? Yeah, it's a given. I'm going to grapple with this. It's not pleasant. It might not be enjoyable. It might not be easy. But you know what? I'm going to learn so much through this, and I'm going to come out the other side stronger and even more successful, right? It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but in the end, you've actually made progress. So yes, I want to say this to you as an encouraging and uplifting thing. Your stress over your uncertainties doesn't have to bog you down and doesn't have to be a stumbling block. You can actually channel it, okay? And here's the thing, because my human lifespan is limited, right? And here is another little thought for you. Even the turtle in your neighbor's garden is going to live longer than you. That is a sobering thought, and a thought that makes me want to dare to dream bigger and make at least some of those dreams real while I still can, right? Nothing is guaranteed. So while I have the strength, while I have the soundness of mind, while I have the energy to do these things, let me do them, right? Because I know that it won't be like that forever. I'm hoping to live a very long life. I'm very blessed because people in my family, people who have come before me, they actually do live long lives. So I am hoping and praying that I got the genetics from them to live a long life also. But I do realize that I still have this time to make it, right? This is my time and this is my place, right? And I have to make the best of it. My journey is my journey. It's not the journey of anyone else. That's why I really try to hunker down down, get in those trenches and fight for my journey, right? Because I know this is all I have. This is all I really got in this life, because everything else is so completely uncertain, right? So call me a mythbuster, but the entire concept of shying away from your dreams in principle simply because you fear uncertainty is to a large extent completely ridiculous to me. Because guess what? Everything is uncertain anyway. Think about it. Your paycheck can go away if the owner of the business you work for screws up. Your family can all move away tomorrow. Your kids will eventually leave you to seek their own journey and hopefully achieve their own success, right? If you do a good job as a parent, you would hope that your kids would be able to stand on their own feet, right? But that means even these times that you have with them now at home, those won't last, right? Those will be over at some point. And then what about your journey? What did you do for yourself, right? What did you do with your own potential, okay? Nothing is permanent and everything is fluid. Even the seasons change. See, a lot of people view life in a very one or two dimensional kind of way. They don't view life from the bigger picture perspective. And to me, life is more like an organism. It's something that evolves and takes different forms at different times. And if you have that kind of idea or concept about life, I always think that it's easier, because it's easier to wrap your mind around it and be like, okay, this uncertain thing kind of happened. I kind of got blindsided by this thing, but it's kind of part of how life organically ebbs and flows. It's part of the fluidity of life. So it's nothing to freak out over. I'm just going to flow with it, see how I can channel it, work through it, and then just be better off after, because I've learned a ton of stuff, right? That's kind of, that view really takes the stress and the anxiety out of a lot of stuff, okay? Change is really the only guarantee we have. Everything else is open to interpretation. Isn't that the exact definition of change, right? If you really think about it, that everything is open for interpretation, right? Just think about it. You cannot possibly avoid uncertainty because you cannot possibly avoid change. Change comes to all of us. Eventually, it comes in the form of death. But I don't want you to be depressed about it, right? It's the circle of life. It's natural. It's not something to be feared, right? It's not something that you have to run away from or pretend it's not going to happen. If you make the most of every moment in your life, even when hard times hit or uncertainty is like kind of feeling like it's choking you, if you still do your best and just move forward, you're going to have a rich, full, wonderful life where you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to be able to invest so much of who you are and what you've become and what you are becoming into other people, right? So that's the focus, okay? It's like I can't do anything about it, right? I can't prevent war. I can't control the economy. I cannot control a lot of things that happen around me in the world because I have no real, true, mega influence over those things. So why am I freaking out and stressing over these uncertain times that we live in, right? Because I can't change it anyway. All I can do is, to a degree, control my own sphere, right? And so that's what I am responsible for. That is what I am in charge of. And that is what I'm going to focus on. So in terms of uncertainty, okay, here are some fears that I think we face in terms of uncertainty. I listed 10 here, and there are many more. I feel we should look at these 10 fears that we face in terms of uncertainty. I'm not going to make this episode about fear per se, because I more want to tackle the topic of embracing uncertainty in episode 23 that we're doing right now. So I will do another episode maybe about fears and about the deeper fears we have in life and where those fears come from and how to overcome them. But for now, let's look at 10 fears that are tied into uncertainty, okay? Number 1, I will not have money. This is a myth. I'm going to bust that myth for you. All 10 of these are myths that I'm going to bust for you, just so you know. Number 1, I will not have money. Guess what? You never will have enough money to fully pursue anything and everything you want. So the only solution to that, the only way to push through that kind of uncertainty is you have to start where you are at with what you have. Okay. I started with literally zero money. I think I kind of collected a few dollars here and there from doing some jobs, and I kind of put it together, but it wasn't a lot. Bought my first art supplies, and that's how I started in the USA. It was not easy. It was really hard. Okay. And I couldn't even work for the most part at that time because I didn't have, for the most part at that time when I was getting ready to start my business, I didn't even have a work visa in the United States. So I wasn't even allowed to work. So my ex-husband kind of lent me money and gave me some money and helped me out a little bit at the time so that I could just buy basic supplies so I could just start creating some paintings, right? I couldn't even sell them initially because I didn't have a seller's permit. And I wasn't even able, like I say, to really do anything much in the USA. But I started to get some work together and I started to practice and I started working on my skills and improving my skills and figuring out what it is I want to really paint and sell, right? So I started really small with really no business and really no money, okay? So today I have bigger dreams. I would, for instance, like to invest in property. I would like to purchase property. Right now, at the time of doing this radio show, the property market is not very favorable for buying anything. Plus, I am still trying to get a lot of capital together so that I don't have to go into too much debt to afford purchasing property. But I know that's one of my dreams and I know that I will achieve it. I'm just going to wait for the right timing. And in the meantime, I'm getting my ducks in a row. I'm getting the money together and I'm scoping and scouting what kind of property I would like, right? Because the kind of property I would actually like to buy would be commercial property. So that's just one example. I will not have money is not an excuse because as your dreams grow, your needs for capital will also grow. So you will never start if money is what's going to hold you back. Number two, my family or friends will not understand me. Well, guess what? That is not your problem. They probably don't understand you already anyway. You cannot please everyone. That is okay. You never have pleased everyone in your life and you never will. Just think about it. So it is silly to let that hold you back, right? Because it's always going to be fluid. You will never be able to have everyone understand you and everyone be pleased with you. Then number three, my circumstances suck too much. Well, guess what, right? Reality, they will probably suck whether you pursue your dreams or not, but they will suck a little less if you actually enjoy how you make your living a little more, right? So the objective would be to get to a point where you can actually have a more enjoyable life. You spend so much of your time as an adult actually working. So I would say that that should be an enjoyable experience. Otherwise, your life is going to be really sucky, right? For the most part. Number four, I cannot just quit my job. Well, you don't just have to quit if you really can't. You can start a side hustle, however small, so you can learn the ropes. I know of a lady who has a 9-to-5 job. I'm not sure what she does, but I know that she has a regular 9-to-5 job. And at one of the places where I teach, I actually see her coming in after hours. She has a small little studio space that she rents, not very expensive. It's at a community center, right? So she's keeping her overheads down. She has her little studio space. And you know what? She has a side hustle. She started a shop on Etsy and she makes hats. And her hats are awesome. They're very creative, very imaginative, right? And that's her side hustle. She doesn't have to go and quit her day job, but this is the thing she's building for herself long term to really do what she's super passionate about. And I think she's really smart doing that. Okay? So, number 5, I don't deal well with stress. Well, you don't just have to think that you're not going to have any stress. You don't just have to become stress-free all of a sudden, right? Congratulations, because nobody really likes stress. And you will endure stress anyway, just by being alive. a lot of stuff is stressful, right? Not just being an entrepreneur. So why not enjoy stress for a better reason that can actually be more fulfilling? Just give that some thought. Okay, I'm going to leave that one there to hang in the air a little bit for you to think about. Number 6, I have no experience or skills. Well, those can be obtained. You can learn as you go, just like you do with everything else in life. You can join networking groups and attend a free or affordable community course at your own pace. I can tell you that I have been an artist for a pretty long time. As far as artists go in the market that I'm operating in, I'm a pretty decent artist, okay? I'm not exactly a beginner. But I can also tell you that I constantly invest in my artistic development. I'm constantly learning to become a better business person, to become a better entrepreneur, because if I stand still and think I know it all, or if I make excuses and say I don't have the right experience or skills, you know what? I'm not going to get anywhere. And if there are really certain types of experiences and skills I lack and I don't have time to do it, I try to get help. I ask for help. Right? And I also have other people that I can contract to take over some of those. So you can obtain the experience and the skills. There are many ways to do that. Think about it. Number 7, I am not smart enough. You know, this ties in with number 6. You can really ask for help and you can read things to make you smarter about certain topics relevant to your dreams. Number 8, I don't have a suitable space. You know, that's not really an excuse. I'm going to tell you why. I started my art business in a 1-bedroom apartment. I painted on the floor, leaning my work against the front door, on old newspapers, painting with awful supplies, in terrible light. Bill Gates started Microsoft in a garage. Picasso was so poor when he was young that he burned his own drawings in a horrible room to stay warm in winter. Welcome to small beginnings, okay? I think the reason we struggle with I don't have a suitable space, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the right experience, skills, my circumstances suck too much is because we idealize or idolize the entrepreneurial journey, and we think we should have this gorgeous office space and all the customers are just going to flow to us, or we should have this perfect website and everyone's going to come to us. You know what? Sometimes you're going to have to start in that 1-bedroom apartment in bad light on the newspapers, or you're going to have to put a few computers in a garage, right? That's reality. Just so you know, okay? So yes, welcome to small beginnings once again. Number 9, I have too many other responsibilities like caring for my kids. You know what? I'm honest with you, so do I. I have a 7-year-old and I started my business before she was even born. You need to learn to ask for help, you really do. My daughter is partially growing up in an art studio. I suck at being a housewife, and you know what? My family is fine with that because they are happy. We are happy. In our home, people get to go after their dreams instead of having a perfectly cleaned kitchen. So it's about priorities, right? What really matters to you? Then number 10, another excuse people use is issues they may have. I have anxiety, ADHD, PTSD or such. Well, guess what? If I can be honest with you, are you ready? Let me just pause here for some dramatic effect. I have all 3 of those. I have ADHD, I have PTSD, and I have anxiety at times. And you know what? I'm doing it anyway. I have found ways to push through. Sometimes I see a counselor if some of my past monsters really peek out of the closet. I just do it anyway. This is also why I'm sharing a little bit of my own vulnerability there at number 10. I want you to understand that these things don't need to hold you back. In the end, there really aren't many excuses, okay? Unless you're physically completely incapacitated and incapable of doing certain things, I really don't think you have a lot of excuses, okay? Especially if you live in a country where the laws and the circumstances and the society, the culture, they're wired to help you succeed. I think in the USA, that's most certainly true. The whole system here is dominantly free market and dominantly set up so that you can succeed if you really want to put in the work. It's just a matter of really going for it. Okay. So that all being said, okay, nothing will ever be certain. Nothing in your life will ever line up perfectly for that golden opportunity. Uncertainty has nothing to do with stepping out of your comfort zones to become an entrepreneur when you really think about it, because uncertainty is a reality of living as a human on this planet. I'm going to mention these 10 fears we face in terms of uncertainty again quickly. Number 1, I will not have money. Number 2, my family or friends will not understand me. Number 3, my circumstances suck too much. Number 4, I cannot just quit my job. Number 5, I don't deal with stress well. Number 6, I have no experience or skills. Number 7, I am not smart enough. Number 8, I don't have a suitable space. Number 9, I have too many other responsibilities like caring for my kids. Number 10, I have anxiety, ADHD, PTSD or such. And so I just busted all of those myths for you. The idea that uncertainty needs to be a deal breaker when it comes to becoming an entrepreneur is just a silly, unfounded fear. It is an illusion because uncertainty is a given reality that you cannot escape no matter who you are or what you do or where you do it. Uncertainty doesn't suddenly appear out of nowhere to overtake you when you decide to follow your dreams. It is with you all the time anyway, so why fear it? So, concluding part 1 of our show today, we are going to look in part 2 at why we do not need to fear the uncertainty of hard times in business. We'll be back shortly.
Catch the fire of creativity. Visit artbyavianne.com. AVIANNE. And now we return to our show with Avianne.
And we are back with part 2 of our show today, episode 23 of Your Creative Force, Embracing Uncertainty. So, part of embracing uncertainty means embracing hard time. So in part 2, we're going to take a hard look at why hard times is not a bad thing for an entrepreneur. Hard times is also a given in life that we need not fear, just like uncertainty, simply because it is something that everyone faces at some point. Think about this in terms of people throughout history and even in today's world who have faced incredible odds and incredible hard times and actually came out the other side doing something really remarkable for humanity, right? I'm thinking of people like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Oprah Winfrey, George Washington, Michelangelo, Moses, William Wilberforce, Martin Luther, and Rosa Parks. They faced some of the toughest time in human history and in their personal lives, yet they made it through to not only overcome the times they lived in, but to pave the way for many others to succeed. Some, like Galileo Galilei, Joan of Arc, Martin Luther King Jr., and William Wallace, even paid with their lives to make the world a better place. We have it so much better today than people ever before in history. This is really true statistically, by the way. I'm not going to go into that as too much of a side note, but statistically we know that today people are better off than they've been before in history, in spite of all the shenanigans we still face in our world. So, we really should be able to endure our hard times and embrace them as a rite of passage even to make humanity better by living our dreams to include others. If all those folks from history could do it, then I am sure we can do it also. Fear is closely tied in with uncertainty, but like I said, fears of all kinds, we are not going to look at the deeper fears that we face today. We will look at that in another episode. For now, let's take a look at this article by Sandeep Kashyap for yourstory.com. And he published this article in 2018. On January 8th, 2018, it was actually posted. And he's an entrepreneur. He's the founder of Proof Hub. 5 Things My Entrepreneurial Journey Taught Me About Overcoming Hard Times by Sandeep Kashyap. I hope I am saying his last name correct, okay? So, he writes, my father used to tell me, failure is not the opposite of success. It is a stepping stone to success. Being an entrepreneur has been a long and hard journey. Let me take you to the reality of my journey, okay? That is what he writes. He says, faced with more doom and gloom than I could stand, there was some good day I decided to be my own boss. I didn't talk much about what was going on inside my head, keeping my hopes high and getting inspiration from everything that was happening around me. I successfully did set my business up. It was a tough journey from changing a dozen jobs to being the founder of Proof Hub. A number of instances that left a mark on me during this journey and taught me about how to overcome hard times. Okay, this is what he is referring to. He says, here are some of the things I learned during the course of my life that helped me navigate different situations. Number 1, if you have a plan, take action. As you start taking steps toward following your dreams, you must come up with a plan. I will, as a side note, say here, Sandeep is correct. Sometimes you even have to come up with more than one plan. A plan will be like a map to tackle any problem, he writes, that comes up on the way towards making your dream come true, and figure out what outcome will be there for your efforts. But make sure your plan or plans are realistic to make it happen. Is it something that you can consider to take an action to make your future better? Don't forget, a plan is only good if it is actionable. Think for a while what you really want and how you can reach there feasibly, right? Usually when I make a plan, I do not stick to just one option, right? Like I said, many plans. I think about a number of situations, whatever that comes to mind, and then usually end up sticking to the one that seems more realistic, more actionable, and more reliable, and at the same time, a little strict. Okay? Number 2, finding success is easier as a team. It is one of the loneliest things to do to start a business alone, so why not invite someone along for the ride? The biggest lesson I've learned the hard way is that things get a lot easier when you are not doing it alone. It is never going to work out the way we planned if we try to win the entire battle single-handedly. You need to have a team who can work towards the ultimate goal you chose to achieve. This is the reason it becomes imperative to have people around with skills that complement yours. Build a team that can align with what you want to achieve and then get them all to work together in one direction. I have seen entrepreneurs losing a sight of their dreams when they try to go alone all the way. So make a team for getting over any barriers and make it soar. Right? So here's something I want to add to what Sandeep is mentioning here. I couldn't put together a team in the beginning because in some aspects of my business, I didn't have the capital. I wasn't really sure exactly where I was going to ultimately take everything. After about 5 years into my current business journey right now, I can tell you with much more certainty where I want things to go, right? In the beginning, I had several plans. I did have plans, but I was kind of trying out different methods, different ideas to see which ones would pan out. Now that some have panned out already and some are really proving to have good results, I have a much more solid grasp on where I want to take everything. So for me right now is when I'm building my team. I'm looking for people who can come along on my journey, right? In the beginning, I was doing what I call small doable steps. So you don't have to get the team right from the get-go. I just want to mention here, but you do eventually want to get a team. Okay? I know of people who are running one-man small businesses and they are struggling to grow their businesses because guess what? One person can only do so much, right? You can only work so many hours a week before you're totally burning yourself out. So if you have a vision of growing things beyond just your immediate kind of like hand-to-mouth situation, you are going to need other people. You cannot do it alone. And you're going to have to be willing to let go of a few things along the way. We will tackle those topics in other episodes, and we've brushed upon some of that in other episodes already. So I want you to really listen to all the episodes in this podcast as they build on one another, this podcast or this radio show, right? Doing a radio show and then it gets turned into a podcast. So just as a side note, please forgive me when I say radio show or podcast intermittently. This really is both. It starts out as a radio show and then it gets turned into a podcast. So anyway, let's go on. Number 3, Sandeep writes, don't be afraid to get help. You have to put your ego aside if you have to manage your business well. I have a great network support to rely on whenever I need a help. My family and friends are always there to listen to my struggles. Make a list of things that are of priority to you and take time to find the sort of help you need in terms of legal, financial, tax, risk management, or whatever else that comes to your mind. Entrepreneurs need to understand that asking for help is never a sign of weakness. Have the courage and feel free to get help without the fear of judgment. And this is something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs miss. I'm just going to pause here quickly and go off on a little bit of an expansion of what he's writing here, okay? In the beginning, I think the pressure of really knowing what you want to do can strike you hard, and it can make you feel really uncomfortable, and it can make you feel like you've got the weight on the world on your shoulders, and you have to have everything figured out perfectly, and you have to know how to do everything. That can actually be a type of thing that can hinder you tremendously. It can become part of the uncertainty of starting a new business. And what he says here is absolutely critical, okay? You need to be able to lay your ego aside. I actually have a friend who has a business of his own, and he's really battling with this right now because he's been at this business for many years, but he has a problem. It's like he doesn't want to trust anyone else. He doesn't want to really invest the time in training up anyone else to help him. And because he's not willing to let go of certain things and of his ego and really devise a much more efficient strategy, and he's not willing to really admit that he needs help, you know what he's doing? He's really hindering his growth. He's actually harming his dream by doing that. So asking for help will become progressively more important as you're building your dreams. You need to realize that, okay? Number 4, give all your energy to pursue something you love. Though I look a lot of detours to pursue what I love, ultimately I got personal fulfillment when I gave all my energy towards the one thing I love. If you want to make it as an entrepreneur, energy is the pure motivation. Why is it this way? Because things are going to start off smoothly, but won't always be so smooth, right? Hard times are going to hit. So Sandeep says, devote your energy towards making your dream come true. Focus hard on pushing through the tough times, for which you will have to give all your energy, and you will surely get the results you aspire to achieve. Okay, for that to happen, I'll just add here, you will need to really be able to just get down in the trenches and focus. Don't get distracted by drama. If you need to fire people, fire them. If you need to hire people, hire them. If you need to make certain changes in direction in your business to go through hard times, do it. Don't sit there and suffer from analysis paralysis, okay? Don't let your ego derail you. Ask for help, do these things, and put all your energy and passion into developing the thing that you love, okay? Don't let other things or issues distract you from the main focus, which is developing this thing that you love into something amazing, okay? He's got a great point there, okay? Then, number 5, follow your curiosity. To be a successful entrepreneur, you need to have the curiosity to achieve a higher step daily. But it is not just having the curiosity that matters. What matters is how you follow your curiosity. Ooh, this is really good, juicy stuff here. A curious mind will always be able to connect ideas better. Tap into things that interest you and give you a path to find who you are, and everything will automatically start to fall into place. Okay? He is very right about this thing. Okay? If you have a curious mind, you're willing to go outside of your comfort zones, you're willing to branch out about your interest and actually learn more things that you didn't know before. You're actually someone that's passionate about growth and personal development and learning a lot more beyond just your immediate sphere of interest. You're going to do really well. Okay? So just to go over the 5 things he says, okay? And remember, this is how to go through different situations in business, how to navigate tough times, right? If you have a plan, take action. Finding success is easier as a team. Number 3, don't be afraid to get help. Number 4, give all your energy to pursue something you love. And number 5, follow your curiosity. There is so much value in what he says here. And then the final point in this article that he wrote. Entrepreneurship is 24/7. Absorb yourself 24/7 into entrepreneurship to be a successful entrepreneur. Live to fight every day in your entrepreneurial journey. Understanding the ups and downs of startup life will make your journey a delightful one. See your business thriving by taking an insight into your mistakes and comprehend the absolute satisfaction by tasting success. Okay? You have to work through the hard times to get to the wonderful times. That is just a given. Okay? If you are going to put your tail between your legs and run, at the first sign of trouble in your business, you will never achieve an entrepreneurial level of success. You're not going to do it because you have to face these things. You have to stand. And you know what? You have to do it afraid sometimes. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't always have it together. Sometimes I'm really scared. Sometimes I get home and I say to my husband, I don't know if I'm even doing the right thing. I have no idea if I should be doing what I'm doing or not. I'm just going by my instinct and I have to trust it and I have to fight. And I do not want to die in the battle, right? You don't want to die in the battle. So that is really very important. What he's saying here is that if you want to taste and comprehend the satisfaction of actually having success, you're going to have to fight through these hard times and you're going to have to be super committed. I do something for my business every single day. It can be sometimes over a weekend, just getting caught up on emails, just making sure that I've ordered my marketing supplies that I'm running out of. It can be easy tasks. I do take some days easier where I just go through the kind of easy, lightweight, mundane tasks and I just get caught up on all of that. Right? And then other days, I literally work like 12 to 16 hours just teaching, developing instruction materials, actually looking at my business plan, and those are intense days. But whatever you do, my advice for you would be just make sure every single day you're doing something for your dream, something for your business. Sometimes it can be some smaller things, right? Especially if you're in the beginning of your journey. And sometimes it can be more longer, intense days. I'm finding that the more my journey increases, the more I am actually doing those intense days. But I'm also building a fitness for it, right? You get used to it, you build a fitness for it, and it becomes easier to deal with and cope with and go through and master those days of intensity. So don't give up, right? So I fully agree with Sandeep's main message, okay? Facing hard times builds character. That is true in life and that is true in business as well. So, with that all being said, in part 3 of our show, we will be looking at more specific ways to embrace uncertainty in business. And we'll be back with part 3 of episode 23 shortly.
Talent is a flame. Genius is a fire. And now we return to our show with your host, Avianne.
And we are back with episode 23, part 3. And episode 23 of Your Creative Force today is, of course, about embracing uncertainty, right? As an entrepreneur. So, how to specifically embrace uncertainty? Sometimes we go through times of extra uncertainty, right? Times when we may feel the odds are terribly stacked against us, or reality may just be a little bit worse than usual. But even then, we can proactively embrace uncertainty. We're going to take a look at what Avianne de Bonvoisin says in her article, 9 Methods for Embracing Uncertainty. This article was published in the South African edition of Fast Company in August 2015, and it was last updated online on the fastcompany.com website on March 25, 2016. Avianne de Bonvoisin is a life change expert, speaker, and entrepreneur who now lives in Cape Town, South Africa. So last time we checked, that is what she's doing and that is where she's at. So let's look at this article, right? 9 Methods for Embracing Uncertainty by Avianne de Bonvoisin, okay? And you can find this article on Fast Company, South African edition, online, fastcompany.com. Okay, so she writes, change is a fact of life, especially for entrepreneurs. Here's how to navigate it successfully. Change is the word of the year and of the decade, and never before has it been more certain than for the entrepreneur. It is not uncommon for everything in your business to be modified. The logo, the website, the revenue model, the brand, the team. Getting good at change is the most important skill to develop. Yet we've never really been taught how to manage it. Right? What she's saying is very true. They don't teach us to do these things in school. So are there ways to make it any easier? She writes, I became fascinated with this question about 10 years ago after working with several startups from a vice chair and advisory board perspective, and realized that everybody one meets is either facing or thinking about change. I have interviewed more than 1,000 people and heard very common phrases from entrepreneurs. Things like, change is hard, I hate change, I'm not good at change, I feel alone, I don't know what to do now. Typical excuses, she writes, included being too old or too young, not having the skills or the time, not having the money, not knowing where to start. Does this remind you of what I said in part 1 of our show today? Right? She goes on, she says, and yet we all know those who seem to do just fine when change comes along, right? Some people seem to just be cruising through it. Okay, so how are these people able to navigate change successfully while others simply get stuck? I developed the following 9 principles, she writes, from my research that formed the basis of my book, The First 30 Days, Your Guide to Making Any Change Easier. These apply to you as a future or existing business owner, but also in other areas of your life. Your relationships, your finances, your health, and your family, all which have a huge influence on how you show up as an entrepreneur. And I have to agree with her here, okay? You will find that a lot of the things that apply in life in general also apply to entrepreneurship in general and vice versa. Okay, so here are the 9 things. Are you ready? Let's buckle up and get through this, okay? This is going to be great stuff for you to apply. Number 1, Avianne writes, stay positive and choose your beliefs, right? We touched on this before in certain episodes. It's about your integrity, your core values, those things, right? The juice, the foundations. So, number 1, stay positive and choose your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your reality and your world. Beliefs about yourself, what you're good at, your inner dialogue, about being a founder, speaking in public, taking a risk, creating a product and launching it, etc. Next, there are beliefs about life. Is it on your side, conspiring for good, or are you unsafe with no net below to catch you? Beliefs about raising money, hiring people, or being successful are the foundation of how you will navigate change in your business. Cleaning up some of those beliefs will rewire what you believe about running your own business. People who are good at change are optimists at their core, and I can tell you this as a side note to what she's writing here, I have found that. People, she's very right. People who are very negative have a really hard time in business because they really struggle with things like handling the uncertainty, handling hard times, right? Handling the fears, handling the changes that happen, right? The uncertainty of change, right? That's what we're really addressing here. And if you are a very negative person, you are really going to struggle. So the first thing you want to do is you have to learn to stay positive and choose your beliefs, just like Avianne is writing here. Number 2, the change guarantee. Oh boy, she's so confirming so much of what I've already told you guys now. The change guarantee. This states that from this situation, something good will come. Write this down somewhere you will see it often. Write it in your office for others to see. We are all obsessed with what to do with our startup. Instead, be obsessed with your attitude, how you show up, especially in the midst of change. Characteristics of people who are good at change include being open-minded and willing to try anything, being in a state of abundance, not scarcity. For instance, there are more clients, more investors, more money to be made, etc. They are not focused on the past. The deal they did not get or the bad decision they made, right? They do not compare themselves to others. They do not play the poor me game, how unlucky they have been, and they keep a sense of newness and momentum. We all know of entrepreneurs who failed with their first or second company and then boom, something better came out of this and they were ultimately successful. This is true for most successful entrepreneurs, by the way. Very few entrepreneurs just take an idea like Bill Gates with Microsoft, run with it and become what seems to us to be like an overnight success, right? Most of us try many different entrepreneurial avenues and then we are very fortunate if we succeed at a few of those, right? Now she continues, number 3, the change muscle. You have a part of yourself that is much more resilient and better at change than you have ever thought. Every business has a change muscle. On a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is your business's ability to go through change? You personally have been through dozens of changes already and need to acknowledge those, right? Think about it. You left a safe job, raised some money, built a website, hired or fired people, right? You do have something to bring to the table already. Okay, guys, as a side note, realize that. Then she continues, look at how you have typically dealt with change in the past. Even though the change you are facing now in your business may be different, you are not coming naked to the change party, right? I love how she writes this. You already have a toolbox of go-to strategies that work for you. Okay. Then number 4, she says, meet the change demons. People who are good at change are very human. They make mistakes. They feel their emotions, but they know how to move past them. The top 3 change emotions that are guaranteed to make an appearance are fear, blame, and doubt. Others are impatience, guilt, shame, anger, etc. Which is your dominant one right now? Bring it out of your blind spot so that it does not have as much control over you. Find the emotion that is stronger. For example, instead of blaming someone for the major mess up that happened, how can you take responsibility for fixing it instead, right? Very, very true, okay? Meeting the change demons, I would just clarify here, means meeting your emotions, your destructive emotions, your negative attitudes, those things that really bring you down and stand in the way of your success. I call them your personal monsters. She calls them your change demons, okay? Number 5. Accept change. Change itself is not the hard part. Resistance to the change is. Oh, as well-known self-inquiry author Byron Katie says, when I argue with reality, I lose, but only 100% of the time. Go in the direction of the river. As entrepreneurs, we are constantly trying to have things go our way. Become very mindful of what the market and the people around you are pointing toward, even if it is really difficult for you to accept, right? Okay, so before I go on here, I want to mention something to you very, very quickly here. Okay? Sometimes what you want, what your preferences are are not the same things that the market is asking for. And you need to really be super aware of this, okay? I can tell you right now, my websites don't even cater to my personal taste at all. They cater for usability and for how the market would access them and use them. Can you see the difference? Okay, that was a great tip, by the way. Okay, so she goes on. Ask yourself these 3 questions for successful business change. What do you need to stop resisting? Example, changing the business model. Then, what do you need to get honest about? Example, you're overspending. Then, what are you avoiding? Example, firing someone you know is not working out. Oh my gosh, I've seen people cling to really bad employees and really messing up their dreams that way. So don't do that, okay? She goes on, number 6. You can't control everything. Do not try and control other people. Instead, control your language and the words you use. Difficult, nightmare, this is killing me, worst day ever are not going to help your situation. Control and change the stories that you have about your team, about your country, your competitors, what you are weaker at. Control the questions you keep asking yourself. Go from why is this happening to how can this be a good thing? Who can help me? Your inner state is the only thing you really can control. You know what? She's right. Your emotions and your mindset, those are critical. Okay. Number 7, believe in something greater and in helping others. Power moves through those who serve. Focus your business on ways that contribute and add value. People will pay you for things that help them. More and more entrepreneurs are taking care of their inner world, meditating, journaling, being in nature. In doing so, they are finding this intangible part of themselves they can always rely on. Only when you do this will you realize you are able to find creative solutions to what is needed. Okay. Number 8, create your change team. Very cool. Okay, I like this one. I'm kind of in the process of embracing this one right now. The worst thing we tell ourselves is that we are alone. We are the only one going through this. No one else has had such a hard time ever before in history, right? So, who are the top 5 people with whom you spend the most time? They are the ones who have a huge influence on you and your business. Are they positive? Are they excited for you? Are they qualified to help? Get around other entrepreneurs. Be honest and specific about what is going on. Only then can you get people to really help. Who needs to be on your change team? A financial person, maybe a tech geek. One new person can take your idea or business in a radical new direction. She's totally right about this, by the way. Number 9, take action. The most important action an entrepreneur needs to take at any stage of the business's growth is to take care of themselves, their energy, and their health. This is your fuel. Have you made this a priority? Without energy, change will be overwhelming. With a calm, rested body and mind, solutions always appear. When it comes to action, it is the small changes that create the bigger results. Over and over. Little things are not little for the entrepreneur. They are everything. If something does not work, continue changing your approach. Do not simply think about it. Get on the court and try it. Action, right? Be a person of action. You will get feedback very soon. In short, focus on the change you are in the midst of or which you know you need to make. Businesses that do not pay attention to change will not be around for very long. Next, scan the aforementioned principles and see which can most help you navigate this change. Change is not a bad thing, not something to wish away. It is merely life calling you to be more, to have your business be more, and to be more successful in the end. And with that, I quickly want to go over these principles that she mentions again. In her article, Ariana de Bonvoisin mentions the 9 methods for embracing uncertainty. Okay. And she says they are: stay positive and choose your beliefs. Number 1. Number 2, the change guarantee. Change will happen. Number 3. Okay. The change muscle. Practice it. Exercise it. Number 4, meet the change demons. Number 5, accept change. Number 6, you can't control everything. Number 7, believe in something greater and in helping others. Number 8, create your change team. Number 9, take action. Okay. Ariane de Boysen, once again, is a life change expert, speaker, and entrepreneur who now lives in Cape Town, South Africa. Okay. And you can visit her website for more information. Okay. This article originally appeared in the August 2015 South Africa edition of Fast Company. So if you go to Fast Company, you will totally find this article there. Then we are concluding episode 23, Embracing Uncertainty, today, part of Your Creative Force, with the following quote of the day by the famous Scottish poet Robert Burns, who said, "There is no such uncertainty as a sure thing." And I'm going to love and leave you on that wonderful positive note. Have a fantastic rest of your entrepreneurial journey. This is Avianne signing off for Your Creative Force.
Talent is a flame. Genius, a fire. Visit us at artbyavian.com. Tune in next time as we explore your creative force. Thank you for listening.